In this video, we are going to explain unemployment in India, the nature of unemployment in India, the types of unemployment, causes of unemployment, and the measures to reduce unemployment problem in India. Nature of unemployment. The nature of unemployment problem in an underdeveloped economy like India is different from that of developed economy. In a developed economy, unemployment problem is associated with cyclical fluctuations in the level of income. During the period of recession or depression, aggregate demand falls and the level of income also falls. As a result, the level of employment decreases and unemployment is created. This type of unemployment is called cyclical unemployment and automatically eliminated when the upswing of business cycle starts. But in an underdeveloped country like India, unemployment problem is not a cyclical problem. Here it is a structural or perennial in nature. It means that the unemployment problem is associated with the structure of the economy. The unemployment problem in India is not due to lack of effective demand, but due to the shortage of capital or other complementary resources. And here the problem is the prevalence of chronic underemployment or disguised unemployment in the rural sector. Sources of data on employment. There are three sources of data on unemployment in India: reports of Census of India, National Sample Survey Officials reports of employment and unemployment situation, and Directorate General of Employment and Training data of registration with employment exchanges. Now let us know the different concepts of unemployment, the types of unemployment. Open unemployment. It refers to a situation where people are able and willing to work at the existing wage rate and employment conditions, but they fail to get work. They are unemployed for full time and are totally dependent on the earnings of others. This open unemployment is of two types: frictional and structural. What is frictional? Frictional unemployment is the unemployment which occurs due to immobility of labor or imperfections in the labor market. For example, we can say when some sectors of the economy expand and some other sectors contract, then demand for labor in the expanding sector rises, while demand for labor in the contracting sector falls. But labor cannot instantaneously shift from the contracting sector to the expanding sector for different reasons. In such a case, unemployment arising in the contracting section or sector is due to the frictions among different sectors of the economy, and this sort of unemployment is called frictional unemployment. Next is the structural unemployment. Structural unemployment is the unemployment that occurs due to structural changes in the economy. Structural changes are two types: changes in technology and changes in pattern of demand. When any labor saving or capital intensive new technology is used, some workers are thrown out of the job. Again, when a new technology is introduced, then old technicians may lose their jobs. So these are the examples of technological unemployment, which is the sub case of structural unemployment. Next is disguised unemployment. It refers to those surplus workers who are apparently involved in any work but are not contributing anything to total output. Their contribution to total output is zero. Even if they are withdrawn from the production process, total output will not fall. This type of unemployment is generally found in overpopulated agriculture. Let us take an example to understand the meaning of disguised unemployment. Suppose a farmer has 4 acres of land and he actually needs only 2 workers and himself to carry out various operations on his farms in a year. But if he employs 5 workers and his family members, such as his wife and his children, this situation is known as disguised unemployment, which can be done by 3 persons, 2 workers and the farmer himself. But his wife, his 2 sons, and 3 more workers are employed in the same plot of land, but the output is same. So this is the case of disguised unemployment. Seasonal unemployment. When workers remain unemployed in some seasons for the year, it is called seasonal unemployment. This type of unemployment occurs where production is a seasonal activity. It is actually one type of underemployment. What is underemployment? Underemployment refers to a situation in which a worker gets work for less time than the time she or he can work. Thus, the person remains unemployed for some months in a year, or for some days in a week, or for some hours every day. Now, let us know what are the causes of unemployment in India. High population growth. India has been experiencing a very high rate of population growth. And this rate of growth in population has not been accompanied by suitable growth of employment. As a result, unemployment and underemployment have increased in India. Slow growth rate. Indian economy has grown at a very slow rate. At least up to the ninth plan, that is 1950 to 2002, 97 to 2002, the ninth plan, the development of the industrial sector has been sluggish. The transformation of agriculture has been very slow. Therefore, increase in employment opportunities has been less than increase in labor force. This has resulted in growing unemployment. Inappropriate technology. India in India, capital intensive techniques of production have been adopted in the industrial sector. Hence, there is less scope for employment generation. Next, faulty education system. In our education system, greater emphasis is given on general education and not on technical or vocational education. This is responsible for the existence of educated unemployment in India. Lack of suitable employment policy. There has not been any national employment policy in our country, except for mentioning a few schemes and projects in various plans. No specific policy was laid down to remove unemployment. Rather, the creation of employment was regarded as a byproduct of development. Hence, unemployment and underemployment tended to increase with each plan. Focus on economic growth. India mainly focuses on the growth of the economy, that is, how to increase the output of the country. It is not, there is sometimes we find jobless growth. In India, there is a jobless growth. The output or GDP increased, but it is, has no link with the increase in employment opportunities. Agriculture as a seasonal occupation. In India, agriculture is not so developed or diversified. It provides some seasonal work. Hence, workers remain unemployed during the lean season. Lack of irrigation facilities. In India, there is lack of irrigation facilities and hence agriculture is not diversified. Farmers do not get jobs throughout the year. Hence, a large number of small and marginal farmers and landless laborers remain unemployed in some seasons. That is the cause of underemployment or seasonal unemployment. Decline of cottage and small scale industries. During the British rule, village and cottage industries declined, and artisans and workers engaged in these sectors lost their jobs. After independence, the government of India has adopted different measures to expand small and cottage industries. However, the growth of such industries has not been satisfactory. As a result, this sector has failed to provide the expected level of unemployment. Immobility of labor. Labor mobility in India is very low. Here, profession of a worker is guided by social and religious factors, not by economic factors. Immobility of labor is another factor behind unemployment. Less the mobility, higher is the rate of unemployment, and vice versa. So, we find that in India, high rate of population growth is supplying more and more labor. On the other hand, low rate of growth generates limited unemployment opportunities. Thus, demand for job is greater than supply of jobs, and this gap between demand and supply increases day by day in India. At present, there is a huge excess supply of labor in the job market. An unemployment problem in India has reached an alarming position. So something must be done in order to utilize this huge unutilized labor force. Causes of unemployment in India. Next, measures to reduce unemployment. Shift of shift to multiple cropping. A large part of agricultural land in the country grows only one or two crops in a year. Much more intensive use of this land is possible by shifting to multiple cropping. And this effort will be able to generate more employment in the agriculture sector. Number two, focus on allied sectors in agriculture. We know the problem of seasonal unemployment in agriculture can also be tackled to some extent by focusing on allied activities like animal husbandry, dairying, poultry farming, fisheries, etc. Horticulture sector also carries immense possibilities for generating employment opportunities in India. Establishment of cottage and small scale industries. Most of the small scale and cottage industries are highly labor intensive. Therefore, they have immense potential for creating employment opportunities. Use of labor intensive techniques. Some economists have argued that the problem of unemployment in labor surplus developing economies like India cannot be solved unless labor intensive techniques are adopted on a large scale. However, over a vast industrial field, techniques of production used are highly capital intensive, and that has removed the lot of manual workers. So, if you use the labor intensive technology, then the problem of unemployment can be reduced. Educational reforms. The educational system in your country is inappropriate in one hand, while technical education is out of sync with industrial requirements on the other hand. Both these problems call for introducing education reforms in the country. There is a need to focus more on vocational education and skill training. Next, assistance for self-employment. Person who possesses certain skills and are interested in setting up their own units should be provided all assistance to enable them to do so. This would involve providing credit facilities, raw material, electricity, industrial set, marketing facilities, etc. Programs to impart necessary technical training and upgrading of their skills need to be organized from time to time. Wage employment programs. The widespread and acute unemployment problem in the country, particularly in rural areas, it is necessary for the government to start a variety of projects on its own which wage employment can be provided to the unemployed people. So government initiatives is required. Government measures. Here we'll discuss the government has implemented different programs that enabled the people to get employment. That is called employment generating programs of the government. The union and state government have played an important role in generating employment or creating opportunities for employment generation. Their efforts can be broadly categorized into two: direct and indirect. What is the direct? The government employs people in various departments for administrative purposes. It also runs industries, hotels, and transport companies, and hence provides employment directly to the people of the country. This is called the direct. Indirect: private companies which purchase raw materials or other inputs from government industries As government industries expand, the private companies also expand, and therefore they will need to increase their output, and thus employment increases. This is indirect generation of employment opportunities by the government initiatives in the economy. The governments implement aimed at alleviating poverty are through employment generation programs. All these programs aim at providing not only employment but also services in areas such as primary health, primary education, rural drinking water, nutrition, assistance by people to buy income and employment generating assets, development of community assets by generating wage employment, construction of houses and sanitation, assistance for constructing houses, laying of rural roads, development of wastelands and degraded lands. So these are the main works that are conducted by the different policies and programs initiated by the government in various plans. Now let us see some prominent programs that are initiated by the government. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005 MGNREGS. It is popularly known as the 100 Days Work Program. This program promises 100 days of guaranteed wage employment to all rural households who volunteer to do unskilled manual work. This scheme is one of the many measures of the government has implemented to generate employment for those who are in need of jobs in rural areas. This is at present the most important scheme for providing employment in rural India. It is also known as MGNREGS or Manrega. National Rural Employment Program NREP. Started in 1980, it aimed at creating a community assets. In 1989, it was merged into Jahar Rozgar Yojana. Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program. This program was launched in August 1983. The objective was to generate gainful employment, creating productive assets in rural areas. Integrated Rural Development Program (IRDP). In the sixth plan, that is 1980-85, different programs providing rural employment were integrated together and was replaced by this program. The objective of this scheme was to provide self-employment of the poor households through the provision of productive assets. Training for rural youth for self-employment, TRISEM. This scheme was adopted in 1979. Its main objective was to give training to the rural youth so that they can be self-employed. Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. The scheme was introduced on 1st April 1989. NREM, that is, and RLEGP were merged into this scheme. The main objective was to generate gainful employment for the unemployed in rural areas. Sampurna Gramin Rozgar Yojana. The scheme was launched in September 2001. The main objective of this scheme was to provide wage employment in rural areas. Now here are some questions from this topic we have explained, unemployment. Now try to work out these questions. There is a table and you will be asked to interpret the table. So that's all. Thank you.